How to fund your first real estate investment. My name is Chris Astolero. Welcome to LEARNin Local Live. All right, everybody. Welcome again to our exciting show today. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing today?
Fabulous. Oh my gosh. So excited to be here.
Tracy.
We have an all-star lineup.
Yeah, Martin, great to see you here. Happy Friday, everybody.
Excited to see Harry here for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So great to have you guys on the show again. I mean, it's a little gloomy out there, but you know what? We're going to be spreading a little bit of sunlight and some sunshine to all of our viewers with our great show today, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Super excited about today. Last week we talked about the mindset of a real estate investor in our 6-week series. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about a lot about financing, which is in Harry's wheelhouse. So thank you all so much for being here. But before we get started, let's talk about what is LEARNin Local Live. LEARNin Local Live is a live platform. So please comment below, ask questions, so that way we're engaging with each other. These are all your subject matter experts, so please feel free to ask any questions at any time during the show. We present our real estate professionals. We highlight them, our subject matter experts, to talk about what's going on in the real estate market. And today we're talking about finance, which is one of the most important things of acquiring your real estate. We present off-market deals, and we also present networking opportunities for our investors to be able to go to these events. And if they're looking at building an ADU or getting financing for the first time and don't know what's going on with what programs are available, or if they want to flip a home, these are the events that we're going to be presenting today, so that you can actually go to these events and get the knowledge and the tools that you need to be able to do what you need to do with real estate. So what is this show about? This show is about real estate. This show is for everyone who is interested to know more about real estate. We're here to educate and empower and inspire everyone to make the right decisions in real estate and avoid a lot of the pitfalls and the costly mistakes. That's why we're here. LEARNin Local Live is providing this LEARNin Local Challenge. It's a 6-week live first-time real estate investor series. And again, last week we talked about the mindset. Today we're talking about finance. So super excited. We're the only ones that provide this type of content in San Diego. And also, with regard to that, we also connect, collaborate, and we create content with our San Diego subject matter experts. They're here, they're live, and we are all here. I want to present to you the people who make it all happen, who make the production happen. Harry, Tracy, Martin, please introduce yourselves a little bit.
Good morning. My name is Harry Dennis, and I'm with C2 Financial. I'm here on the financing side to ask any questions and to be a resource for you out there. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tracy. And Tracy?
Oh my gosh, it's a happy Friday. It's going to be epic. Tracy Hassey, Ticor Escrow Services. I am a super connector. I have a question for you. How are you safeguarding your real estate deals from cyber fraud? Let's talk, let's connect. We're in a market that is complex, especially here in Southern California, where we all live that are on the show. So Ticor Escrow Services is a Fortune 300 company safeguarding millions in funds, ensuring compliance and protecting all parties, coupled with top of the line escrow officers in the industry. So we are here to take it to the finish line, and teamwork makes the dream work. Cheers. Let's have some fun today.
And Martin.
Hey everybody, pleasure to be back. My name is Martin Magana. I'm a real estate agent focusing on off-market deals and wholesaling in San Diego and North County. My big thing for being on the show is really advocate for wholesaling in general as an industry in San Diego, and how it's not this shady, like super unethical avenue that every realtor, every seller dreads having to go through. And I just want to show that there's a lot of value in wholesaling, and that as long as you're dealing with good and ethical people, there's a lot of value that can be pulled out and everyone can win, whether you're an agent, a seller, a buyer, it doesn't matter. We're just, not everyone's out there to pull as much money out of you. And a lot of people are trying to help you win. So Martin Magana with Armis.
Awesome. And Harry.
Well, Harry, let's dive into the next segment, LEARNin Local Live.
No, go ahead and introduce yourself first. Again, C2 Financial.
I'm Harry Dennis with C2 Financial. So I'm on the financing side. So we're going to be talking about the different types of financing today. So I'm so excited to go over that. We know that's the main components of being able to finance homes out there.
Fantastic. And my name is Chris Astolero with Exchange Resources. If you're an investor who's interested in selling your investment property and you have a huge taxable consequence, we're here to fix that for you. We're here to help you defer those capital gains taxes. On a $1 million gain, that's about 30 to 40% in taxes that you're going to pay that you're never, ever going to see again. So we're going to help you roll that over into the next property or properties that you wish to purchase, and then help you create that legacy so that your heirs receive those properties at a step up in basis and all those taxes are forgiven. Sounds great. If you're interested in doing this for yourself, we're here to talk with you and give you the consultation you need to help you with all those 1031 exchange needs. So thank you all so much for being here, guys. So great to have you guys. Harry, Martin, Tracy, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Without you, we wouldn't have this show. So thank you so much for your dedication and continuing to be with us.
Absolutely. Honored and grateful.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love being here every week. It's just highlight of my week.
A great way to top off the week with all these influencers and really diving deep into revolutionizing real estate investing and having the go-to experts to really go to.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chris, for putting that together, especially us being local in this market in San Diego. That's what, to understand really what's going on in our marketplace is just so important to get that information out to people.
Thank you guys all
you-
so much for being here. Martin?
Yeah, like if you reach out to an agent and then you see you're trying to buy something in East County or in San Diego, and then they're based in LA, it's like, yeah, they'll know the area, but they won't know it like a local expert whose office is literally in this area. They've been here, all this area. So one of the benefits to coming and watching.
Yep. I agree with you, too, Martin, too, especially with the ADUs and some of the units that we can do here. So it's just knowing those nuances in the local market here.
Well, fantastic. Happy Friday, everybody. Again, thank you all so much for being here. I'm super excited to move on to the next segment of our show. So let's meet our local influencers. All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. We've got some new faces here. Thank you guys all so much for being on the show today. This is fantastic. Great to have you all here. So please, our viewers want to get to know who our subject matter influencers are. So let's kick it off and get started. Please, Arnold.
Arnold, realtor for Sell State Next Gen Realty, making real estate dreams a reality, one home at a time.
Fantastic. And next on the list, Nicole. Great to have you on the show again, as always. Please
Great
introduce
to see you,
yourself.
Chris. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Nicole Turner. I am the broker owner at Sell State Next Gen Realty. My superpower and my team's superpower is turning those client stresses into absolutely successes in San Diego County. Thank you for having me a part of your show today.
And Brett, this is your first time here. Great to have you here. Please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, Brett and Tammy Haywood here, Haywood Realty Group, specializing in East County real estate sales. My audio's gone, so I'm hoping you can hear my guy, hear me on your side. I'll try to work on this here in a second, but here to help anybody on the East County side. Thank you.
All right. Well, so great to have everybody here. These are our subject matter influencers. As we move on to our show, please make sure to comment and ask questions to these subject matter influencers regarding finance, because that is really the key, is getting the right financing to fund the deal. So, Harry, let's talk about finance.
Perfect. But let's dive into the next segment to our show, LEARNin Local Insights. Welcome to the show, everyone. Before we begin, let's thank our
I don't have
sponsor.
any audio right now.
protection that puts you first. Your home and your family deserve security, stability, and peace of mind. For every mile, every moment, every memory in motion. Because every drive deserves to get you home safely. Comprehensive solutions that safeguard your operations, assets, and future. Farmers Insurance, because your life deserves protection that truly matters.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Harry Dennis with C2 Financial, and we're going to be talking about financing today. You know, one of the first things we really need to look at is when we're buying a home, most people just go on the internet and they look at homes. But especially here in San Diego, how can we afford those homes? You know, especially being one of the most expensive places in the country. So we really have to look at the numbers. So what I like to do is I like to have a plan in place so we know how to do it, because there's different types of loans out there. There's their typical conventional loans that are backed by the government, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are the ones you have to show income. So they're not, you know, on your tax returns, W-2s. So everyone doesn't qualify for those. There's also something too is called creative financing. So those would be more alternative financing and different programs like that. And then there's private money. So we're going to dive deeper into those areas there. But right now, the most important thing on the financing is kind of looking at the overview picture. How is someone's credit? How do they derive income? Because that's very important for the ability to repay the loan. And then also too is the collateral or the property itself. What kind of condition is that? So the first topic, let's start talking about the conventional financing. So conventional financing is there. That's going to be the best rates out there. Right now, the going rates are around 6% on the conventional. So that's the lowest it's been in 3 years. So really anyone that has bought out there in the last 3 years that has bought a home, right now they can pretty much refinance with 0 points and or 0 cost just because of the rates and the environment is good out there. So let's talk about the conventional. Nicole, what have you seen out there with some of your buyers, or when you talk to the buyers? Are they on the conventional side, do you think, or what kind of questions or what kind of experiences have you had? Go ahead, Nicole. Okay, let's go over to Brent. Brent, what have you had experiences out there, maybe on the conventional side versus some of the investment side? But what have you experienced out there?
Still working on audio, guys. Sorry about that.
We can hear you, Brent.
Harry, I can hear you now. So sorry about that. I couldn't hear you for a minute as well. In the conventional world, that's always where underwriting's backing it, right? The government's involved with many different loans you can use. And one thing that I like to use with people who say in the future, I'd like to be an investor, or I'd like to buy this home right now, but in the future, I want to make it an investment. We can use things like an FHA 203K rehab loan, buy that house that's even off market, low dollar, because it's one of those things we need to flip and make fabulous. And so buy it completely ugly, $535,000. Often I have an after repair value of, for example, $875,000. Scope of work at $100,000. That's a $675,000 total investment of the client with a huge profit position at the close of that project. And depending on the lot is how we decide on how we're going to highest invest, make that deal. So sometimes we can add units to the lot, which are going to create the cash flow that are just going to stimulate a higher price for the future. But every story, like you mentioned at the beginning, is so specific. So it's really important for our viewers to tune in to this type of show to be able to get the word from our own dirt here in San Diego County.
Do you do a lot of those types of, or do you have a lot of those types of buyers that ask you more on that investment side, or more, how about if someone wanted to live in the property?
If they wanted to live in the property, there's other opportunities that we can do as well. So living in the property with the future of being an investor, I'm just clarifying, Harry.
No, in terms of a typical, just as an owner occupied primary, maybe even a first-time home buyer, since we are still kind of talking about conventional financing?
FHA, I love to use products like USDA, especially in the East County. I love East County. I was born and raised in Lakeside. I live in Lakeside currently, and East County is my heart. And I'll go through all the dirt roads and all the fun, and USDA takes me to a lot of those areas. But what I love in those dirt roads, and they're not all dirt roads, so USDA is an agricultural loan, but you don't have to have 20 acres to utilize it. And I have closed many transactions where the actual investment from the buyer was $0. It's a grant, it's a gift. They never have to pay it back. There's no caveats with it. There's sometimes a little bit higher of an interest rate at the beginning, but then we have a long-term strategy with the lender often on how we can take that in the future. But again, USDA is a great way to be able to purchase FHA, VA, many different products out there, even DSCR loans if you want to walk into the investment world.
So Nicole, the USDA, just for people out there, that's more on rural areas and zip codes based on what the government said. So it's 100% financing. But if we didn't have a rural or we lived in a suburban neighborhood, especially the first-time home buyers, I mean, the grants are really good programs. But the problem is here in Southern California, they're just, not saying that it's impossible, but they're very hard sometimes to get the offer accepted. So a lot of times we refer back to the FHA, which is 3.5% down, and that can be gift funds too. So that's a good one where if the ratios of the income versus the debts aren't up to speed too, they're more flexible in underwriting. So you can paint a picture or a story to get those, to get that FHA approved. Also, we have VA loans, which is a big part of San Diego here. VA loans are 100% as well, and they have the best interest rates because they are guaranteed by the U.S. government, and they want to protect the veterans too as well.
And just to add real quick, I love all those products, and I'll use all of them with the client. It's always what's best for them. But USDA, even in Ramona and Alpine, I can utilize it. So I don't have to be in the backcountry. I can literally be in the suburban neighborhood that's right next to the shopping center in Alpine and utilize it. And it's a dependence of what fits with that client. And that's where you come in so strong in everybody's story. We have to have that great lender to be able to really make it good for the client, because without the good lender, so many bad things can go wrong. I know we all have our stories.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one, is the creative financing. So creative financing, what does that mean? So let's say a typical person, especially here in San Diego again, is self-employed. So they have a lot of deposits coming in. They go to their local bank and they get turned down. And they're like, well, why am I getting turned down when I have so much revenue coming into my bank accounts? It's because they're writing everything off on their tax returns, which is great because their CPA is trying to tell them they're minimizing. They have legitimate expenses. They're minimizing their taxable amount to the U.S. government, but they don't qualify. They don't qualify for a loan. So we have different programs that a lot of other banks might not have, is because we can take their bank statements of 12 months and we take an average of their deposits to qualify. So we kind of call it an Alt-A loan, but people can buy a home based on the income they have in generating their business. So Brent, let's talk a little bit about creative financing. Maybe some of the experiences you've had, I would say the creative side versus maybe the conventional, or some of your experiences lately. Okay, Brent, can you hear me? Okay. Hey, Arnold, how about if I ask you about that same question, in terms of like the creative financing versus conventional financing? Have you had any experiences lately on that?
Not lately, but we can take a scenario like that. There's different ways of non-conventional financing. Seller financing, private lending. There's a slew of options out there for buyers, even first-time buyers. Right now, I have a young couple that had to go through some hoops the last couple of months to get where they're at, but we actually utilized the state. We used Calahafa to help this young couple. One income, they're 25, and so we can fall into different categories of conventional or non-conventional financing. And that's a huge huge arena there, right? So I can go to family members, I can crowdfund, seller financing. It's just a huge area there that most people don't understand or don't know are available to them.
Are you seeing more right now with it maybe shifting a little bit to the buyer's market? Are you seeing maybe are sellers looking to maybe carry back or other creative stuff, out there?
I believe so. And I believe that's really on the approach with the seller, right? So as an agent, I'm going to approach that in a professional manner. So we're going to want to lay a pro forma out for that seller, right? Because if the seller is distressed and they need out, let's just say they own a duplex and they live in one and, they rent the other, but they need to get out of here and they want to move to Arizona. Well, we're going to find a way to do that, right? But we need to present that to that seller so it looks good to them, right? Whether we pick it up, rehab it, the condo that they lived in, and get into a conventional loan in 6 to 12 months, use that rent that they currently have with the tenant that's been in there for a while to pay them every month. Market interest rates.
In my experience too, it's probably taking the temperature of the seller itself to see kind of, is there a motivation in what their experience and maybe sometimes I know on my side from financing, I have to educate people on what does seller financing need, especially if it's an elderly couple and they want the income, and not to talk about tax or tax gains too. They want that cash flow, or I think it's just educating them on what different boxes, because you threw out so many different topics on it, which is great, but just really finding out what the seller needs and having your team educate. Would you?
Correct.
Would you
Where do we need to be? Where do you need to be? And then we have a path at that point, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk more. I think the third part, let's talk about private money lending. I think, and what does that mean? We've already kind of talked about the conventional, and that's a typical financing, the non-QM where it's more the bank statements, creative stuff. But what is private money, and what does that mean? Let me go to Ruben on that. What does private lending mean to you, and how we can explain that?
Well, absolutely, Harry. Yeah, I'm glad to step in. I know that we've had some technical issues. I don't want to step on Brent. Can you hear me, Brent?
Yes, I can hear you now. Sorry about that, you guys.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Brent, I know that you had something that you wanted to discuss about, was it private or creative? But now that you're back, I would love to give you just an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think we were going to talk about a lending situation I just had recently. Was that the cue?
Yeah, let's talk about that. On the lending, this is a real live example that he just encountered. So go ahead, Brent, tell us the story.
I lost you guys again. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Ruben. Let's go back to the back to the private lending. Ruben.
Absolutely, yeah. So private lending, as it relates to what
I would say private lending in terms of residential, in terms of, we know private lending probably is mostly investment properties, but let's say you were financing maybe just a home or some units, and relatively here in San Diego. Give me maybe a typical scenario that you see that's a good scenario for you.
Absolutely. So as far as private lending is concerned, the easiest way to describe what kind of private lending we do is all non-owner occupied. So completely opposite on the conventional side. Sure. So first off, it has to be an investor who's looking to do a project. So whether that be a value add project like a rehab, or maybe they bought land and they need to construct a single family home or multi-unit property. San Diego, that's super hot. A lot of people are buying homes that don't even need renovation and putting ADUs on them. So there's a lot of different things. But one of the things that I think everyone needs to understand about private lending specifically, even though it's out there, typically it works best for people who have experience doing it. So
yeah. And what have you seen typical rates maybe on that? And looking at, maybe talk about the opportunity cost versus cash versus the private money when you're getting ready to purchase a property, and the leverage.
Absolutely. Leverage, when it comes to an investor, it's completely, they have a name for it, OPM, other people's money. Yeah. So I think what people don't realize about investors is that, if it wasn't for lending options, they wouldn't be able to call themselves full-time investors, because you just absolutely need to, it's like the air they breathe.
Yeah.
So Absolute, and obviously everyone who has experience is always asking for the highest leverage, lowest interest rates. But just to answer your question, right now we're probably hovering anywhere from 9.5 to 11.5 on a fix and flip bridge type of ground up construction value add loan.
Yeah, and not much. And everybody out there too with the private money, that is the least amount of documentation. So it's somebody that has, as more an investor, they're getting a good opportunity on that property, and it's the opportunity cost. And that's why normal people that look and say, wow, that's 10%, that's a lot. But it's the opportunity cost of being able to close, maybe getting a discount at the purchase than just a traditional home buyer buying a home at the retail level too as well. So it's just more about, does that property or does that borrower, it's more about the collateral where you're putting down probably up to 40%, as well. And with an exit strategy to take out this hard money loan down the road, 1, 2, 3 year plan to be able to do that, to get it back into conventional financing or to sell. So it's really just good to sit down and have a plan to be able to do this with an exit strategy. And that's how you're going to obtain, financing. Anything to add to that, Ruben, as well?
We try to, I know creative financing is one of the things. And, sometimes when private finances, private lending, investors don't necessarily fit the box, they have to get creative. But I think there's probably just way more. There's a lot more talking about the creative, but we just have to move on to the next segment. But yeah, no, I'm just happy that we can provide all different types of options and financing for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruben, for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Chris, you're on mute.
Chris, you're up, Chris.
All right. Well, here I am again. Thank you all so much for your insights. Nicole, Arnold, Harry, thank you all so much for diving into financing, because that really is the key to obtaining that first property or that first investment property. So super excited about the next segment of our show. And I think we're going to be talking about our deals. So let's go into, yeah.
Go ahead, Martin. Let's talk about our next segment, our deals.
Martin, you're muted.
There we go. Happens every time. As always, my name is Martin Magana, and we'll be presenting our LEARNin Local deals, where we bring you real, live, off-market deals. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Revolution Capital. There we go. And then before we get started, we're actually going to be doing a little different segment before our deals, the investor tip of the week, where we bring you an often overlooked tip in investing in real estate, or in this case, a case study focusing on the area that we're going to be talking about today, in this case, East County. So we actually have a story from Nicole Turner here about a property she had over in Santee. So I'd like to pass that over to you.
Yeah, this property in Santee. So like we were talking about before, I think the biggest piece of the puzzle we talked about is every property has a story, and the financing depends really too, not only on the client, but often on the house that we're going after. So, there's lots of different ways we can go in that, but the house can often predict the financing we're using. On this story, I honestly could have used all sorts of different kinds of financing, but the seller didn't want to take the time. And the seller was one of those that had a lot of things in their house. It was off market that they preferred. They didn't want a bunch of people going through their house. And to get out of here, to get to Tennessee was their goal. And so we kept it off market. We sold it. And with that property, we did sell it off market at $535,000. But here's the fun part. That property had a $100,000 estimated rehab. And when it sold, not even a year later, it was less than 6 months. It sold for $815,000 to the new owner. And fast forward, not even a year, That person who owns that home now sits at $875,000. So in a world that the news tells you the world's doom and gloom and everything's going to poop, we're actually appreciating and staying super strong out there in values. And so that's where your financing comes in even more important when we're staying strong like this in these properties. So yeah, Martin, with that one, it was a lot of fun. We left all of the personal property that we didn't want to take behind, all the trash, all the debris, it all stayed behind. My seller got to drive to her new home in Tennessee that she used her profit here, bought cash there. So she's now living housing free. She has nothing but property taxes. In Tennessee, they have great property taxes.
Awesome. No, yeah, there's always an opportunity with a lot of these properties. Everyone's telling you they're scared to invest, they're scared to jump in the market right now, hold off, wait. If you're going to keep waiting, like eventually you're going to look back 5-10 years from now. It's like, I wish I bought. It happens every 5-10 years. There's always one person, I wish I bought. So don't be scared of these more distressed properties, whether it's full of junk or full of stuff. Just get with a local expert and just have them go over with you. Is there money to be made here? And don't be scared of jumping into these projects.
Very much so. I always tell people this is not the stock market, it's real estate, right? And so like the 3 things I can't predict in your life are economic catastrophe, government interference called the short sale market, or a life event that you run into, a divorce, a marriage, 20 kids that you forgot you were going to have, all the different things that can happen in life. Those are the things we can't predict. Holding in real estate is where you make money. But honestly, Warren, I'll tell you, in the last 5 years, many people who have bought in 2021, even 2 and even 3, are scooping out equity and leveraging their real estate in today's market. So those risk takers out there are building right now. And there's a lot of money being made in our county that has absolute golden sand.
Yeah. Nicole, are you finding more deals out there right now right now in this market?
I mean, honestly, I feel like our sellers are still very strong. It's a time still of price or patience. So, I mean, I just negotiated a deal for over 2 weeks and we just opened escrow yesterday. Finally found a meeting of the minds there. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of deals out there. It's a matter of what we run into. You know, the house that I got off market for $375, the owner was done. It was like cash only for sale by owner. Well, reality was it was a broken well. I used a 203K. We fixed the well and had a great story for the buyer. So you really need the professional on your side. We are conduits that have so many different ways to help in that puzzle. And I can tell you, I know we have ChatGPT, I know we have technology, I know we have Google, but I clean up a lot of messes from technology. And consumers think one thing, and then you're like, no, hold on a second, because you didn't think about this, this, and this. The puzzle maker behind you is extremely important. So be careful when you connect to your realtor. Make sure that it's somebody who has the need and want to be able to get you to a good place. Not only today. I mean, I build clients for life. And in my world, it's like, not only what are we doing today, but what can we do in the next 30 years for you? And then what about your kids and what about your grandkids? Because in my world, if I can help someone create generational wealth that never even knew it was possible for them. And sometimes, Harry, we start off with those bank statement loans to get there. But it's all a strategy. It's all we're going to do this, this, and this. And those 3 things I can't predict. When you run into one of them, you call me. I'm going to be the first one to help you through it.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Martin.
No, I agree with everything she said. And just don't be scared and be realistic if you're going to be jumping into the market right now. And listen to your agent. Like, they're the experts for the reason. But if there's no final thoughts, we're actually going to be jumping into our off-market deal now. So here we go. We're going to be leaving East County and going over to Mesa. This is a 2-bed, 1-bath, 864 square foot condo. The reason I chose this property for this segment is because of the low entry price. Basically, everyone's always worried. I don't have $1 million. I don't have the funding. I don't have everything set up to buy a property right now, especially in San Diego. So condos are a great opportunity to get into investing, especially if you don't have the capital to back it up. It's way easier to get qualified for this price point, regardless of your financing type. But for this deal, we have 2 model match comps that sold for $625 each. We're asking $500K for this one. For rehab, all you really need is the flooring, the small kitchen remodel, 2-bath remodel. You do have to replace the AC condenser. But besides that, everything is good. Being a condo, the HOA takes care of the exterior. It's a super quick rehab. Most investors that I deal with involving condos never account for more than 3 months. 3 months is really pushing it for a lot of them, especially if they're doing a lot of flips. So really holding costs should only take 2 of your 2 months to allocate for that. And it's a super well-maintained cosmetic flip. No issues with the HOA in the last couple of years. And it is a higher fee of $648 per month of HOA, but realistically, you should only be holding it for 2 months, and that should only tack on $1,200 to your final thing. But I'd like to open it up to you guys. What do you guys think of a low entry point and just condos in general for investors in San Diego?
I think
Martin, would this be for an investor more, or would it be someone, maybe a first-time home buyer, especially at that price point, to try to get in the market? What would be your ideal, what's your thoughts on that?
I think this is one of those deals that works for both, because if you jump in, drop 30, 40K, 40 on the high end, if you're really pushing it, you could easily profit between 30 and 50 grand on whatever you're looking to do with it. So if you're an investor, it's a really easy way of getting something in your portfolio. That being said, if it's because of the cosmetic shape that it's in, if you can negotiate a credit for the AC condenser, it's a really good opportunity for you to go in to buy and hold it for yourself, or if it's something you want, because of the low price point. So it works for both. I personally would see it as an investment because how clear we have of comps. Because whenever you have the model match comps, those are always best for condos. If there wasn't the comps to support it, I would say do it conventionally. But in this case, I would recommend investment. But it really depends on your approach.
Yeah, I think too, people have to take into account and what I'm seeing in the market, especially the HOA fees. When you say, "Wow, that's $600 is expensive," you really have to do your due diligence. That I've seen from the financing side is what kind of shape is the HOA in? Do they have the reserves? Take a look, walk the complex. What is their deferred maintenance? Does stuff need to be done? Roofs, painting. I'm just seeing a lot of that, and especially the insurance side of things, because that can really increase with monthly assessments or a one-time fee, and that can really do some damage to the price, as well.
Yeah, not just insurance. Insurance is one of the bigger ones, but the other thing I'm seeing a lot that kills a lot of our condo deals is the compliance with the balconies. That's one of the biggest deal killers for us, is the balcony not being in good shape and you didn't get repaired, because you can't move the property until the HOA repairs it, and not every HOA is made the same. So like whenever you're buying these properties, we'll do our due diligence for you, but I always recommend you personally call the HOA and ask, is there any limitations? Some HOAs don't even let you do flooring. They're saying you're on the second floor, you have to only add carpet. So ask for what scope of work is allowed in HOAs, and then ask for any special assessments coming up, any in the past, and what they were for.
Yeah. Have you, with the balconies part, because that's a really hot topic, but were the HOA associations known quite a while ago that this was coming, or was this just a all of a sudden thing that came in within the last 12 months or so?
I'm pretty sure it was just in the last 12 months. I think the seller was trying to relocate, and they just moved. I think they're moving to out of state. I don't remember the exact story. But typically with these, it's assuming the HOA isn't just a pain in your butt. It should be fairly simple. But again, there's some HOAs where they're selling, let me make this as difficult as I can for everybody. In this case, it seems pretty straightforward. When I talked to the lady at the HOA, it was super easy. Typically, when I call them, they almost seem angry that I'm calling. It's like you just have to just answer and.
Lastly, just on my thing is from the lending standpoint, the lenders want to see an HOA certification in terms of meeting standard guidelines. Obviously, one of the big ones is if it's in litigation too, which is an issue with typical financing.
Yeah, no litigation here, no issues with that. Typically, we find those out really quickly when we go through title and escrow. But if there is any litigation, any of that. One, it's really hard to get a loan on anything with litigation involving an HOA, so we typically don't even go for those. But during the acquiring process, we will call personally and we will ask and find out all this information, so that if it does come up, we either drop it, or if it's something you can actually do, if you're doing cash and you're okay with it, we'll just give you all the information to see if it still works for you. And if not, it's not something really push on people if there's ever any litigation on an HOA, because that's such a hassle.
Yeah,
because your holding cost goes from 1-2 months to however long the litigation is. You really got to wait out on them. There's really nothing you can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Any final comments?
Any other insights? Arnold, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we move on?
I think condo Condos are fantastic. Usually they're just a minor cosmetic, usually smaller square footage, great for beginners in investing, right? Simple, low cost. You're in and out of them. They move fairly quickly in the market. I think that is ideal for investors who are trying to get their feet wet in investing, and especially in the San Diego market.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for your insights. I think from an investment perspective, also from as a primary residence, when I first purchased my first piece of real estate, I purchased a condo because that was the lowest priced property that I could afford. But thinking about that, when I love the price point here, Martin, it looks like a great property to definitely rehab and to fix up. But from a 1031 exchange perspective, right? They start out with this property as a primary residence. And then if they rent it out for 2 years, they can actually utilize that property, sell that property without having to pay any taxes, and then roll that over into maybe 2 or 3 other properties and possibly another state. So that 1 turns into 3, that 3 turns into 6, and so on and so forth as a 1031 exchange. We're going to dive into that a little bit later, but I think that people should see that that's definitely going to benefit them. Live in there as a primary residence. It's affordable. Turn it into a rental and then sell it. Buy a couple more properties with that without having to pay the taxes and defer those taxes. Thank you all so much for your insights. Arnold, do you want to say anything else?
I just wanted to ask you a question on that. So just say the rental on that, the 2-year rental. Is it possible, let's just say the owner still occupies it, but it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they rent out one of the bedrooms. Is that still considered renting it, or do they need to evacuate and rent that out completely?
So that's a very good question. That's a very good question. So if they're receiving rental income from that 1 bedroom, they definitely need to talk to their CPA to bifurcate the value of that 1 bedroom, right? Bifurcate meaning find out what the value of that is, and if it does qualify for that 1031 exchange, because it may not be, enough. It might just be very minimal as far as, that 1 bedroom qualifying for a 1031 exchange. So it may not even be worth it. But that's where the CPA comes in to determine all those numbers for you. But that's a very, very good question. So any other last words? Yes.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
2-bedroom condo. So I had a client, we were looking in Lakeside, we were looking at 1-bedroom condos, and the conversation became, why aren't we looking for 2? Because what if you need that extra room? But really that extra room becomes another spouse. So when you rent that extra room, you can create what's called border income. And then when you are the owner occupied, I can use that leverage now, that money that you collect, you got to report it on your taxes. But that money that you're collecting for that bedroom now becomes part of you. And I can use that to go for your next purchase. Then we can get into that 1031 swap till you drop if I can't do it on the first one. But those extra rooms can be very beneficial. And in the world of San Diego County with our rental world, so weird in the way that, not weird, but we just have a lot more restrictions than we used to in the rental world. And in that world, it's totally your private space. So fair housing and all of those things aren't so much involved in your private rental space. It's a great way to give yourself leverage. My client was 22 when he bought that condo. And now we're leveraging for that next purchase ahead. And using that border income to be able to use it in the strategy.
Well, that's perfect. So, I mean, there's just so many different creative ways of getting into real estate. And that's why you need to reach out to these professionals who know about these creative ways of getting into real estate, all the financing. So many great points. Super excited about, the next segment of our show. Harry, take us away.
Well, thank you for all that information, Chris. You are the expert when it comes to that. So, let's dive into our next segment of the show of LEARNin Local events.
Hey everybody, Tracy Hassey, Super Connector with Ticor Escrow Services, and this is one of my favorite parts of the show, LEARNin Local events. Before we get into that, we want to thank our sponsor, Ticor Escrow Services. Take it away. I have a question for you. How are you safeguarding your real estate deals? Let's talk, let's connect. and I'm here to educate and share some insights that you may not be aware of. So once again, Tracy Hassey, Ticor Escrow Services. We are the leaders at safeguarding and protecting your clients' money and information from wire fraud and cybercrime. We have the financial strength. We are a Fortune 300 company, and we have the experts, the escrow officers, the escrow teams that know what they're doing with 25 to 35, 40 years of experience. We are here for your success. Bravo, Ticor Escrow Services. I'm super grateful to be a part of this incredible team with Ticor and LEARNin Local Live. So let's, everybody grab your pen, grab your pad. You're going to want to take some notes. We do also post these events at the end of the show, but there are some hot ones, and you're going to probably find some of us at these events, and it's a great time to meet in person, and this is where deals are being put together. So our first one we have here on the screen, multifamily real estate market trends, proven strategies to build wealth. That is going to be Wednesday, November 19th, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that is join ABG Multifamily for an exclusive webinar on the latest multifamily trends and how smart investors are building long-term wealth through passive real estate syndication. That's a hot one. And then next we have You're Invited. Join us in our Consumer Empowerment Center on November 19th. It's another evening one at 6 p.m. That is, let's see, your success is every day. This is
Hope Through Housing, Tracy. I'll help you real quick. This one's Hope Through Housing. It's at my office. We do Consumer Empowerment Center reach outs to our community. These are free events. All we need is a text to that phone number. If you're watching today, you can text it 619-956-6050. This is our Hope Through Housing. It's talking about all the things that you don't know yet in buying a home.
Awesome. And that's so in alignment with what we're talking about with our 6-week revolutionizing real estate investing. Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
And then we've got Unlock Your IRA, the real estate play for building lasting wealth, Thursday, November 20th. Another evening event. Learn how to use your IRA to invest in real estate. Keep the tax benefits, build long-term wealth with insights from Pete Schnepp and Shay Roberts. That sounds hot. And then, of course, November 21st, our next LEARNin Local Challenge, how to find, analyze, and choose the right investment property. So save the date. We'll be here a week from today, 11 a.m. Tune in and ask questions. We are all here for you. And and there's more. Real estate cheat codes, 8-unit new construction walkthrough, November 22nd, Saturday. And that is at 3634 38th Street and 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Real estate cheat codes with Andrew Greer. That sounds like fun. Always fun to see the properties live time in person and really do an assessment that way.
Yeah, those Andrew Greer ones are really, really good events to go to. Some of the
awesome.
Really they're on par with the Ticor ones, I would say.
Okay. Does anybody else have any events that they want to share? Any other events, Harry, Chris?
Nope, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you at some of these events so that we can actually meet some of our viewers, because these are great events just to get the knowledge that our viewers need, to get a little bit of inspiration and some motivation onto exactly what they need to do so that they don't make those costly mistakes when they're, investing in their real estate or their first home. All great insights, all great feedback from all of you, our subject matter experts. Let's go on to the Q&As. Go ahead, Tracy.
Real quick, I always like to mention, if you are a broker, realtor, or investor, there are broker caravan meetings and broker previews happening literally Monday through Friday. And you're going to go online to your local real estate association, from SDAR.com to PSAR.com to NSDCAR.com to CREA.com, CREA.com. And you're going to get the details. And of course, reach out to me, reach out to us here on the show, and we will connect you. So cheers to you.
Tracy, quick question. Do
Today-
you know where we can get some of the events that are coming up, especially with the holidays coming? Is there a certain place that we all can go to maybe see where certain events are coming, especially
You
with
know
the
what?
holidays?
The best place that we typically is through here. Yes, of course, Nicole, here. And Eventbrite and the University Club hosts some great events. And some of them are for the public as well, even though that is a private club. So, but yeah, call us. We're typically
consumers that are watching today. I think the consumers in these events that we're talking about, sometimes it's like selling water and being afraid to commit. But I think as a consumer, and even us as agents and networking things that we go to, these things that we are talking about and that we're offering and sharing for consumers, there's no commitment. In my world, it's always about coming in and getting the golden nuggets. You guys will learn a lot at these events.
Yeah.
Collect your golden nuggets. There's no commitment to buy or sell a home. Our role is to influence and to empower you. And that's our role every single day. And I think all of us here on the screen, we take big accommodations in that to be able to make sure that our people are fed well with the knowledge from us. So if you're a consumer watching this today and it's like that tiptoe and you're kind of afraid to see what that's like, I'd say jump in and try it. Collect all those golden nuggets like a chipmunk and go home. There's nothing that's going to follow you unless you want something to follow you with future information.
Thank you, Nicole, for that. You know, I think too, from the financing side is what about, is just getting into the game. I think is the most important thing. As you could hear from some of the experts here, is they bought their first condos and getting in the game 20 years ago. But what about today? I think is just so important. What do you think about that, Chris? Just getting and seeing an expert. How do I buy a house?
Well, really quickly, and I don't think we talked about this, and I think this is an important aspect of what's going on with real estate because there's more inventory on the market. Homes are, on the market a lot longer, and sellers are willing to negotiate a little bit more for selling their house. They may want to delay it. So we didn't even talk about the lease option to buy, where if the first-time homebuyers don't really have all the money, but they want to save. Over the next couple of years, they can potentially, do a contract with the seller, do lease option to buy, and then that money is saved for a down payment. And then when they exercise their option to buy at that time, then they can utilize that down payment that was saved and then finance it at a later time. So for some people, like you said, just get in the game. We didn't even talk about that, but I think that that's also an opportunity for a lot of people who really don't have the funds, but they want to save and they want the seller's help to help them save and get that financing in at a later time. What do you guys think?
And on that note, Chris, just real quick, guys, what we also didn't talk about, what is happening out there is buyers are assuming the seller's loan. And the low loans, like whether it's 2%, 3%. So, Harry, can you talk about that and how that works?
Yeah, I just saw a listing in UTC La Jolla on a condo where the home was $150,000 higher priced because it is an assumable loan. So, you got to really read the fine print. And some of these loans are assumable, and that created a huge difference from the recent comps there. So what we have to do is just kind of look at the paperwork and see. And again, the buyer does have to qualify, but some of these rates out there, that was like a 3% rate. So that can add tremendous value and really just create more buyers coming to that property. So
what about question for you all is the 50-year loan that they may be introducing. So what do you think about the 50-year mortgage? And is that really going to make a difference on the payments for a lot of these first-time home buyers so that they can maybe afford the house by getting a lower mortgage payment?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the 50-year loan. We've had the 40-year loan for a long time, but I think with the 50-year loan, I think right now there's a couple things just suggesting. We know from a government standpoint, it has to go through Congress. It's got to get passed. Then the lender's got to bring it. So I think it's a good buzz and topic to talk about right now. But I have a good live example story where a friend of mine rents in Bird Rock and they pay $5,000 a month for a place. Where imagine 5 years ago, if that person could have got a 50-year loan and bought that home. and being able to finance it. How much equity, knowing San Diego, knowing the parts here, how much equity would they have had 5 years ago versus renting for $5,000 a month? Where now they can take and they could buy that condo from Martin with a big chunk of a down payment or barely any mortgage. So I'm just more in favor of options, especially from affordability factor here in California, because nowadays people aren't really paying off their mortgage. They're moving or refinancing within 5-6 years, an average of 5-6 years, they're moving or refinancing less. So again, I'm just for options for it to give us more choices to get affordability and the younger generations to be able to buy a home here locally.
When I look at a 50-year loan, here's my thought in the realtor world is price point. If you have 50-year loans and that becomes a consumer appeal, here's what happens in my world. When I used to have only 2 people fighting for a property, I might end up with now 10. So in today's world, when I look at 25 and a lot of people are like, it's so expensive, I see the next 5 years and things like this continue to drive my price point up. And so consumer approach with that 50-year loan, they're also talking about the credit score going away from the way that we qualify, right? And so there's a lot of things right now that are being talked about that may continue to drive our demand. Our inventory here in San Diego sitting at 5,600 homes with a 4 million population. We have been in a shortage of inventory before COVID. We're still there. Inventory is moving slower, but we're still not even to like an average market time. I used to live in a world of 120 days being normal. We're not even close to that. We're just not in the hyper speed that was in 21 and 2 when I only had 1,700 homes for 4 million population. Because COVID reset a lot of people in interest rates that were crazy, right? We had 1.75. A lot of people go like, when are they coming back? The real answer to that is when something bad happens to our country. And none of us want that to happen, right? Because Federal Reserves got filled up at a high level. That was one of the first moves that were made in 2020. And so I just look at the demand in that. Even with the credit scores, I see more people trying to qualify, more people taking that step to be brave and see if they can do it. So to me, it's going to drive up demand, which is going to drive up the price, and that's where I see the next year going.
Thank you, Nicole.
Shop now.
All right. Any last thoughts? Arnold, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
It'll be interesting to see.
Now you can hear me.
Yeah.
So, the 50-year, there's a lot of negativity, just like negativity with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac coming out of conservatorship, right? We think about this. So we really got to look at all aspects of what's going on right now in that realm. There's going to be a lot of things changing in the mortgage industry. Once Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac come out of conservatorship, I think you're going to see a lot of junk fees and a lot of things disappear once that happens. Really, truly making a lot more affordable for millions of people to be able to purchase homes. So we really got to look at the whole spectrum of not just the 50-year, but what's going on with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac coming out of conservatorship that will really shift the mortgage industry. I really think we should focus on that as well.
Right. Well, one last thing was that I like the point that Nicole made, that's definitely going to drive up demand. And there's going to be maybe possibly a multiple offer situation again, because if we have the 50-year mortgage, it's going to be more affordable. If the interest rates trickle down a little bit more too, that's going to definitely affect the market. That's going to motivate buyers to start going out there and start making offers. So, it's going to hopefully drive up the market a little bit, and then, and it might continue to increase the property values, like Nicole said. So, just a lot of really good points. Thank you all so much for your feedback on this. Always great to have your insights so that our viewers know who to go to answer the questions. And there's a lot of loan options out there, lots of information. So our viewers need to go ahead and reach out to our subject matter experts that are here on the show. And again, we need to remind you that we are here to connect, collaborate, and create content with these San Diego subject matter experts. We are LEARNin Local Live, and we're here for you to make sure that you're successful in all of the transactions that you have in the future. So please make sure to join school. That is our information on our community. If you want to get involved, if you want to be a subject matter expert, please connect with us in school so that you can learn about everything that you need to know about LEARNin Local Live and how that's going to benefit you, where we create content for you. For the next segment of the show for next week, again, don't forget to tune in. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll see you at the next LEARNin Local Live.
Bravo.